New Orleans, and from good people, good friends from Ireland and all over the world. We're going to be talking. We're talking about Collision Conference with Mike Harvey, who is in charge of communications and media for the Collision Conferences. This is their third year here in New Orleans. And by the way, I do want to thank Greater New Orleans Inc., who's also participating in this Facebook Live. So, Mike Harvey, how are you doing? Now, you're in London right now, right?
I'm in London, yeah. The team is heading out from Dublin to New Orleans on various flights over the last 24 hours this week. So we're all heading out to set the conference up. We starts on Tuesday.
So for those people who are unaware, why don't you tell us, if you don't mind, what exactly is Collision Conference? And I know it's a conference it's a part of a larger conference organization. So why don't you take us through it?
Well, Collision is it's a tech conference. It's America's fastest growing tech conference. It's basically a gathering of startups, investors, entrepreneurs, CEO of big tech companies, CMOs. And it's people getting together to talk about tech, to meet each other, and to listen to hopefully some great speakers, what we think are great speakers on various stages. It takes place at on Tuesday through Thursday. It's a 3-day event. Collision is part of the Web Summit family of events. Web Summit is the flagship. We're an Irish company. We're based out of Dublin, and we have events all the way around the world. And Collision is sort of our Web Summit in America. So we try and pull together some really interesting content, some great speakers, and hopefully people come. They're entertained. They meet the right people, and we also do stuff in the evenings, parties and drinks and stuff like that. So we try and make it a proper, real experience for attendees.
Absolutely. And I will say this, that, and of course I'm a little biased here, but I didn't make the last year. I apologize. Things came up, but I made every day and every night the year before, and it was by far the best conference that I've ever gone to, and I've gone to quite a few. So
that's very kind.
Oh well, it's very true. So. So what is it that is so special about the Collision Conference opposed to other technology business conferences?
Well, we try very hard to make sure that the attendees have a great experience. When we talk, Web Summit started as a gathering of 400 people in Dublin in 2010, and we've tried to build conferences that allow people not just to sit on a chair and listen to people, but actually to meet people. So we've designed things like office hours, where investors and startup meet in 15-minute sort of speed dating moments. Mentor hours, where senior executives from big tech companies go and actually do a 15-minute mentoring session with startups. We have what we believe is a very sophisticated conference app where you can chat with other attendees. You can seek and search out people that you want to meet and chat with, and we try and bring a mix together of people that come from all sides in the tech world, and deliver a great experience. It's funny when people think about coming to conferences. They often say they come to see specific speakers, and obviously the lineup for speakers for us, and it's one of the things that I worry about a lot, is making sure the lineup for speakers is great. But people tell us when they've been to our events, the thing that they want to come back for is the connections they've made and the people they meet. And I think that a lot of traditional conferences and a lot of other conferences don't put enough emphasis on helping people find the right people to meet, whether they're doing it at scale or whether they're doing it in an intimate way. And it's one thing we try really hard to get right.
And it's really a great place for entrepreneurs, say, a technology or certainly a technology-oriented company to to be in front, to get in front of people who are looking at investments. And so that's one thing that really struck me. Just that,
I mean, the relationship between investors and startups is the sort of the beating heart of all our events. So there are hundreds of startups who are exhibiting in booths, small booths, and they change every day, those startups that come and exhibit. And we have hundreds of investors, many from the very biggest VC companies and LPs, limited partnerships in the US and around the world. And obviously the startups are looking for mentorship, they're looking for investment, they're looking to find the person who's going to help take them to the next level. And investors are looking for that diamond in the rough startup that's going to turn into the next, the next Lyft or the next Uber or the next Amazon, So it's interesting. I was looking at the list of startups that we have coming this year. It's obviously artificial intelligence, machine learning is a very big topic right now. Lots of the startups are classifying themselves as that. There's lots of fintech companies, lots of enterprise software companies, and quite a few sustainability or environmental companies. One of the most interesting stages we think that's always at Collision now is what we call Planet Tech. So that's a one-day stage where some of the big speakers in the world of sustainability or environment, or some of the big corporates that are working in this area, come and talk. Probably the biggest name speaker we have at Collision this year is Al Gore. Obviously, he's very well known to everybody, and he did actually speak at our event at Web Summit in November, and basically he closed the event. He blew the doors off. He really did. He's an amazing speaker. So I'm very excited to listen to him. He's on day one. So we're expecting a packed room for him. I should say that, we're expecting about up to 25,000, around 25,000 folks to come through the doors over the 3 days, which is going to be really exciting. It's probably a little bigger than last year and which was a little bigger than the year before. So we're really continuing to grow. And obviously the New Orleans as a city venue is hugely attractive for many, many reasons. So, it's going to be a great week.
Plus it's the beginning of Jazz Fest. So I should say it's actually between week 1 and week 2. So so those people who are, say, considering attending, I mean, it's a great opportunity to do tech and do music and food.
Yes, and we very deliberately positioned ourselves, obviously working with the convention center and the city authority. We positioned ourselves in the middle of that Jazz Fest week because we could see that there's some overlap. We have a music stage which we call Music Notes at Collision. I think it takes place on day 3. Some very big music artists come and take part on that stage to talk. We have Wyclef Jean is coming to speak this year at Collision, and several other big names are coming. I'm very much looking forward to listening to him too. So music's partly it's the heart of the experience for everybody who comes to New Orleans, and we'll be reflecting that on stage too.
So if anybody has a question, please go ahead and post it on GNO Inc., on my Facebook page, my groups. So please go ahead and do so. We'd love to be able to respond to any question that you have. So basically, there are a lot of vertical industries that you have divided the conference into. You mentioned automotive, and there's, I guess, media and public relations would be another one of those verticals. What are some of the other verticals? Virtual reality? Yeah.
We do. So we have the conference with sort of the Collision, but obviously there's center stage, which is obviously the most important. But there are a variety of other conferences that take place over 1, 2, or 3 days on the stages that take part. So one thing that's new this year is something we're calling Growth Summit. We launched it for the first time at Web Summit in Lisbon in last November, and it proved incredibly popular. Which is basically what we're putting on stage is about 130, 150 fast-growing startups. Their founders and their CEOs are coming on stage and just describing and talking about what they're doing. These are companies that are re-accelerating their growth, really beginning to make waves, making some investment. What we want to try and put forward with that stage is people just come and listen to the big companies of the future, really get a snapshot of where the technology industry is going, and what sort of stuff's out there, and what's going to be big in 5 years' time. So that's Growth Summit, which we're very excited by. But there's other things like there's marketing, which we call PandaConf, enterprise software, which we call SaaS Monster, and music, and Planet Tech, and several others as well. Another thing that we're doing is quite interesting for the first time is we've got a gathering of technology ecosystem experts, and they're gathering in a small, actually, a invite-only event on the Monday, on the day before it actually opens. We're very keen to try and support ecosystems around the world, tech ecosystems, and so we're putting together some experts and some people who want to just connect and meet with each other about how that happens. So that's very interesting. That's happening on the Monday.
So what type of person would normally attend, and what type of individual, profession, industry cluster are you, I guess, looking for to attend the event?
So, I mean, typically there's a range, but I mean, obviously you don't necessarily have a particular job title to come to our events. You have to be interested in, I think you're mostly interested in technology and the intersection of technology and the future, because technology obviously is affecting and disrupting so many different fields of industry in so many sectors. But I mean, obviously we have developers, software engineers, marketing experts, CMOs, founders, entrepreneurs. A lot of the speakers coming from the very big corporates, the Fortune 500 companies, because they know and see, and their companies are having to deal with and having to adapt to, what's happening, the technology is happening in their fields. I mean, some of the interesting topics that are going to be dealt with on stage is, and obviously these are all topics which are in the news right now, things like disruption of the news media, security online. The head of online safety for Facebook is going to be one of our speakers, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say, and obviously in the wake of Cambridge Analytica and all the other aspects, the other controversies. But there's obviously, the Me Too movement, the responsibility of the internet giants to the media industry, and security across other things. Susan Herman, the president of the ACLU, is coming on stage. Diversity is a very big topic within the tech industry. You could argue that the tech industry was probably the first industry that was touched by the sort of Me Too claims and allegations and controversies. I think that's being addressed on our stages as well. And then, you've got, probably the biggest topic that there is outside the basic idea of technology is Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, fintech, in financial technology in general. We run a conference in fact it's in Dublin this year called MoneyConf, and the valuations of Bitcoin, what blockchain technology can do, what it actually means, what the disruption could actually be, is a massive topic right now. And we have Joseph Lubin, who is the co-founder of Ethereum, which is one of the most important Bitcoin most important cryptocurrencies. He's going to be speaking at Collision next week as well. He's one of those guys that was right at the beginning of the whole cryptocurrency movement. On paper, he's worth an awful lot of money. Not that that's what he's interested in or talking about, but it's very interesting that there's a whole new industry, and the regulators aren't sure what's happening, and no one's quite sure what it actually means. But it's very real for a lot of people, and the paper valuation is obviously incredible. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what he's got to say too.
Now, 2 years ago, the attendance was roughly about over 12,000. Last year, over 20,000, or
heading towards 20, I think it was. Yeah.
So you're shooting for this year for about what?
Roughly 25,000. We'll see how it ends up, but yeah, roughly 25,000. We hope for a few more. The registrations have been, very high, and we'll see how it goes. Obviously, we want to keep growing. We want to make sure that everyone has a personal experience as well as a large scale experience. And it's one thing that we work very hard at making that work.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely looking forward. I definitely will make it there this year, starting next week. I mean, you're talking about a lot of different topics that I don't know anything about, but I certainly want to learn at the very minimum. But you're talking about people who are involved in music, in communications, PR, public relations, advertising, automotive, in any industry. Actually, when you're talking about artificial intelligence, those type of technologies. I mean, that's just something that like this technology, online video. It's just, I think, really cutting through the envelopes in terms of really bending all the margins. And that's exactly,
I used to be a journalist before I moved into this sort of field, and I was a journalist in Silicon Valley in 2008, and I could see that the newspaper industry was going to be in trouble because I could see what was happening with Google and Facebook and Amazon and others, just beginning to eat up industries, the profit lines and the way that the business was done, and that's happening. It's happening in the film industry.
Right.
It's happening. Marketing technology has changed completely the way that people are sold things. The power of the big internet giants is, even beyond anything I was imagining 10 years ago. So yes, and I think there's obviously on a very basic level, we have something called auto tech at Collision. So we've got a really interesting company called Byton, which is China based. They launched themselves into the world at CES earlier this year. They do a self-driving car. They've got this new. I have to say, I'm relatively not easily impressed by stuff, but this stuff blows me away. So their CEO is going to be presenting their technology for this car on stage, and I'm really looking forward to that. And there's the idea that if you're a taxi driver, your job security and the way that business is dealt with has changed completely.
Sure. Because
of Uber and Lyft and half a dozen other apps and the way that stuff works. Driverless cars is, people have been talking about it for a few years now, but it's real. There are driverless cars on the streets of on the streets of America right now, and so that's the sort of thing that people talk about, what that's going to look like on our stages, and I think that's obviously the attraction to a lot of people, is they get a real glimpse of the future.
Sounds really exciting. Is there anything that I haven't touched upon that you'd like to just mention in a
I don't think so. I mean, I think one of the things, obviously for our attendees, and they come from 120 different countries, it's a pretty international event. But obviously for our attendees, one of the great attractions, and for all the talk that I can talk about, the great people that are on stage and the speakers that we have and that sort of thing. Obviously, the city of New Orleans itself plays a vast and important role in the experience that all the attendees have, and we're so pleased to be in New Orleans now for this third year. we take people out on the streets. We set up some parties. We do some dinners. We do some drinks. New Orleans couldn't be a more welcoming city for that.
Speaking of that, I saw on your website that you're asking your visitors to vote for next year. Am I correct? So my plug is make sure that you click New Orleans. I mean,
yes. I mean,
that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, and everyone else, hopefully in New Orleans would vote, and obviously those that have been to Collision in New Orleans in the past need to make up their minds. I think that the truth is that we do need to find a home for Collision next year. The event has been rapidly growing. We have to make a decision about where that is. We're looking at all sorts of different places. New Orleans is one of the places that we're looking at, whether we should move or stay, or whether we need to find a new home. That decision is yet to be announced, but we have been asking people to vote, and we'll see what we say.
Okay. Well, everybody, vote New Orleans. I mean, make sure you get the vote in. I mean, we'll have to stuff the ballot box for sure. Really. Okay, listen, I really appreciate it. Mike Harvey, thank you so much. And